Oh, we're live. Okay. Hello. Welcome to the Sneak Peek Podcast. My name is Parker Lehman, and I'll be your host for today because those lazy bums, I don't know what they're doing, but everybody else on the panel apparently had, social lives or something else to do. So today it's going to be a one-man show. And I hear you asking, wow, can this guy carry a podcast all by himself? And the answer is no. So if you don't want, if you feel like tuning out, feel free to do so, because it's not going to get any better from this point onward. Anyway, all right, so in true form and fashion, we're going to jump right into the box office. And this weekend was a hell of a weekend, actually. In first place, we had Black Panther with $41 million in its fourth weekend, closely followed by A Wrinkle in Time. So this is Disney's latest blockbuster based on, beloved source material, Wrinkle in Time, and it's directed by Ava DuVernay. It stars Oprah and like Mindy Kaling and all type of shit, and still it ends up coming second place. Not only does it come in second place, it's second place to another Disney movie, Black Panther. So it's like Disney's cannibalizing itself at this point with their oversaturation of movies, because I mean that movie cost like $100 million to make. It wasn't cheap. It's like science fiction fantasy. So we're getting to the point, how I feel like we are at Disney right now is the same as like in roughly 2008. If you remember the golden age of Brendan Fraser, when back in the day you'd have 3 movies with Brendan Fraser in the lead, all out at once. You had like Journey to the Center of the Earth, Furry Vengeance, and The Mummy Part 3, all in theaters at the same time. So in the box office, they were kind of cannibalizing each other, and the money was just diluted rather than going to one specific movie. And that's what happens with oversaturation in all cases. Hell, it's happening in trap music right now, but that's a whole other tangent. So yeah, Wrinkle in Time, victim of the studio's own success, and that's a shame. On the plus side, The Strangers remake. Okay, it made $10 million. That thing probably cost like $5 million to make anyway, so I'm sure they made their money back. Here's the thing, though, like, The Strangers, was that really a good enough movie to warrant a sequel? I saw it, and I really couldn't understand what the hype was about. Well, maybe because I'm an actual horror fan and not just, someone who occasionally goes to see a scary movie with their girlfriend so they can snuggle. Red Sparrow came up next with $8.1 million, and then finally, rounding up the top 5, Game Night. Nobody fucking cares about Game Night, so I'm just going to move on. Although I'll say this, we talked about this on last week's show, all right? And the thing is, DCEU, they've had a lot of problems, right? So their next big team-up film is going to be Flashpoint. That's what they've decided. It's going to be Flashpoint, one of the biggest stories in the DC comic universe. It brings together all the heroes, there's time travel and all this bullshit. It's what they were hinting towards in Batman vs. Superman, actually, when you see Batman shooting motherfuckers in the face and all that jazz. This is a very informal podcast. I'm just reading text while I'm talking. But anyway, Flashpoint, that movie. Considering how much risk that they've taken, it's appalling that they would choose Jonathan Goldstein and Frederick whatever, the directors of Game Night, and the Vacation remake, and the writers and directors of the incredible Burt fucking Wonderstone to make Flashpoint, possibly their biggest blockbuster on their slate. It is an appalling decision to me. I don't understand why they let him do it. It seems like it's doomed to fail right from the beginning as soon as I hear those names. I'm going to ask you, all right? If you gave the Farrelly brothers $200 million to make a movie about Plastic Man, do you think it would be good? At all? Remotely? Might be some good slapstick. He's stretchy. You could probably milk that a little bit, turn it into something. But just on principle, it seems like a really, really awful business decision. I hope WB's okay, because they might be a little bit actually insane in the managing department. But we'll see how it goes, Aquaman's coming out. Apparently it's pretty good according to test screenings. That's also what they said about Batman vs. Superman and Suicide Squad and Man of Steel. But hey, why not believe him this time? It's sad because I love the DC Cinematic Universe, okay? Like, I'm a Man of Steel apologist, right? I didn't think it was that bad, but seeing them tank like this and seeing the colossal failure that was Justice League, it's really sad. It's like it's like having a little brother, you know, who was like a piano prodigy, and he was really, you know, he had a lot of purpose, and then slowly watching him turn into a heroin addict over the years, and he's just sucking up money from people, and that's all he does now. Doesn't have any agency of his own, doesn't know where he's going, really, no plans whatsoever. Anyway, what was I? Okay, right, movie news. Move on to the movie news. Ready Player One posters. Okay, if you've seen these posters that I'm talking about, and I'm sure you have because they're awful, the film Ready Player One is repurposing old movie posters to put their main characters in. And on paper, to make a poster pun, this sounds like a great idea. But they use these weird CG characters, and I'm assuming the characters in-game, I don't know about that, and they look really poorly photoshopped. If you look up any of these posters, they look fan-made. They don't look real. There's one for the Lost Boys that's just laughably ridiculous, and then the Matrix one just straight up doesn't make sense to me. All it does is it has the logo. The characters look nothing like Neo and his whole crew. So I'm really pessimistic about how Ready Player One's going to turn out. Not only is it a Steven Spielberg film, and he's proven rather inconsistent lately, but it's the film is written by the guy who wrote the novel, and that usually only turns out sometimes. You know what I mean? Like Gillian Flynn for Gone Girl, it worked out perfectly because she understood that in order for the movie to work, she had to change the plot points of the novel and make something new and interesting, and it was like challenging for her. This guy, Ernest Cline, I think his name is, apparently his other books aren't that great. He's written a screenplay for another thing before that wasn't that great, so we'll see. But if you're just going to see, you know, an 80s medley hodgepodge of, you know, a bunch of fun things, go see The Iron Giant, then who am I to judge, man? I mean, you do you. Everybody's got to get their fix. Anyway. Next piece of news. Kristen Wiig has been cast as Cheetah in Wonder Woman. DC. What the fuck you doing, DC? Kristen Wiig? Really? What do you go? Who is this for? All right? Who's this for? I mean, sure. Women like bridesmaids, but that doesn't mean you should... Okay, I'm going to back up a second, all right? Here's why I think this won't work. Kristen Wiig, great dramatic actress. She's proven that before in like the Skeleton Twins and other shit. I have no doubt in her acting ability. The issue is she's kind of Cheetah's a really like a sexy feline-ish character in the comic books, and Kristen Wiig doesn't really fit that bill. She's attractive certainly, but she's got a little bit of a goofy-looking face, like it's a naturally comedic face. I don't see that matching up for Cheetah at all. And to be honest, whether or not this works, Kristen Wiig as Cheetah in Wonder Woman 2, whether or not this works depends on the tone that they're going for, which is completely up in the air at this point, because DC's at a crisis, because they spent their whole time playing catch-up with Marvel instead of trying to make their own thing. So now, since they retconned the whole tone of the franchise with Justice League, and Aquaman is rumored to be lighthearted in tone also, I'm assuming that Wonder Woman will have more of a lighthearted tone too. And if that's the case, and Cheetah's like a comedic character, then this could definitely work. But if they're trying to take Cheetah completely seriously and make her scary, this is going to be like an Elizabeth Banks and Power Rangers type situation, I think. I don't think it's going to mesh well. But I guess we'll see, man. I mean, nobody believed in Heath Ledger before The Dark Knight, but I hesitate to call Wonder Woman 2 The Dark Knight. I hope it is, and it just might be. Who knows? Next order of business. Deadpool director Tim Miller signs on to direct the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. Okay, couple things about this. To me, this looks like they're going in a more teen, angsty kind of direction with Sonic the Hedgehog, which has always been what it's kind of leaned to. You know, you got games like Shadow the Hedgehog, and Sonic 2006 had all the live-action stuff, and he was in love with a fucking real human princess, and it was weird. But, you know, they've always steered more towards the adult kid market, like the people who think Mario isn't edgy enough. So that's probably the market that they'll hit with this film, because Illumination Entertainment bought the rights for Nintendo to make a Mario movie or like a Nintendo Universe movie, something like that. So this seems like a preemptive strike against the super ootsy-cutesy movie that Illumination will inevitably shit out as a Mario product. So, yeah, I hate that these movies are getting made because I don't think they can translate well enough into a cohesive and interesting story. Sure as fuck not at the hands of Illumination Entertainment, but I'm glad Sonic the Hedgehog isn't being made there. I'll say that. That would be catastrophic. Tim Miller, like him, good sense of humor, good sense of action, maybe some cool action scenes with the fast, the fast running and stuff. That'd be fun. But really, who gives a shit about Sonic the Hedgehog? I don't even know why I read that. I'm just going to move on. The Witch star Anya Taylor-Joy and her director David Eggers have announced that their Nosferatu remake has been postponed. Okay, The Witch, in my opinion, one of the finest horror films of the past decade. And it was directed, oddly enough, by a fashion designer. So this guy has a lot of raw and natural talent, and I'm really excited for whatever he has coming next. And if he's remaking the classic horror film Nosferatu, which most of you know from SpongeBob, then I see this as a recipe for perfection. I can't see how it'll go wrong. So I'm pumped. This guy's been on my radar for a while. Anya Taylor-Joy is gorgeous and also a great actress. So yeah, I have nothing else to say except that I'm looking forward to this. You see, I usually have a lot less to say about the things that I enjoy and I'm looking forward to than I do about the things I despise. If I don't like something, I could go for like hours. But if I like something, it's just, no skin off my bones. Maybe that's something I need to fix on a personal character level. I don't know. I don't do a lot of self-analysis. I usually just go diarrhea of a mouth for, several minutes until I get bored with myself. Anyway, speaking of getting bored with me, okay, so the trailer for Christopher Robin has premiered, which is Disney's live-action remake of Winnie the Pooh, the long-anticipated Winnie the Pooh for the new generation. It's not like we had one come out in 2011 or anything, but we need another one. And this one stars Ewan McGregor as a grown-up, strapping young Christopher Robin, Chris O'Dowd as Tigger, Brad Garrett as Eeyore, which I think is hilarious casting, and the legendary Jim Cummings returns as Winnie the Pooh. So I have no idea what this movie is going to be like. It'll probably be charming, and nice, and it'll be a nice, warm, nostalgia trip. But two things. Mark Forrester, who made Quantum of Solace, is directing. And number two, fuck it. Man, fuck it. I get the concept of Winnie the Pooh. Okay? I don't care how long it's been since I've last seen it. I could always go back and see it again. Like, what new things are you really going to show me in this Winnie the Pooh movie? He's going to be old, all right. So Winnie the Pooh probably helps him learn to, find joy in life or love or something like that while he's working his desk job. Or is he going to just quit his job and run free, and live in the 100-acre woods naked, just running around with the stuffed animals? That's not good, Ewan. You can't do that. Don't let Pooh let you do that. Look, my point is, all these Disney live-action updated movies, I don't see their purpose in existing. It's the same story, but this time it's like Emma Watson. You know what I mean? What is the appeal? What keeps you coming back? You know every beat of the story and what's going to happen. Is that like a comforting thing? Is it like watching a fucking romantic comedy where you know exactly how it's going to go, but you just enjoy the ride because of the warmth? I mean, are we that stupid? There used to be... Look, okay. I know I'm taking forever to get through the news, all right? But there's a lot on my mind that I feel like I need to get off of my chest. Okay, look it. We seem to have an obsession right now in the movie industry to remake all cartoons and fairy tales and everything as live-action movies. The next 4 bullet points on this thing are about remaking animated properties as live-action movies, okay? And I think that's because real life has become a cartoon. We've kind of, in terms of how reality and logic works, we've kind of jumped the shark a little bit. I mean, we got a reality TV show, star as president, Russia maybe pulling the strings. I don't know what the fuck's going on. So we're so confused that we want to retreat to what we know, which is our cartoons from our childhood, and we want to feel warm and fuzzy. Problem is, like, have we really shaped out like something, some kind of cultural niche or something that we have for ourselves for this decade? The decade between 2010 and 2020. Like, what did we do culturally that we could define? Like, when we look back on this decade, we're going to say, that's what we did. Nothing really. A lot of Marvel movies. I'll say that. That was the golden age. But really, where does that get us, you know? People talk about the 90s so much. I'm done. I'm going to stop writing about that. The Nutcracker and the Four Realms. Brand new trailer from the director of A Dog's Purpose and Hachi, A Dog's Tale. Comes a film that's not about a dog. It's about a nutcracker. So basically, this is Disney's version of the Nutcracker. So it's a big budget fantasy live action type thing. And if you watch this, if you Google this trailer and you watch it, the first thing you notice is that it looks almost exactly like Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland, like to a T. The second thing you notice is that they rip a direct shot from the Chronicles of Narnia, where Georgie comes out of the cabinet, you know, and she sees fucking Mr. Tumnus, and there's that giant lamp, and there's a shot from behind the lamp. They do the exact same thing with a Christmas tree. And then, so, essentially, this fucking Nutcracker movie is just a ripoff of Alice in Wonderland and Narnia, like paint by numbers, and nobody gives a shit. It's probably going to make $100 million, probably more than $100 million. And it just looks pathetic to me. It looks like pathetic. Like, what the fuck are you doing? I highly recommend watching it because it's bizarre, and I couldn't really believe my eyes. All right, I'm tired of this news segment already. I don't know about you, but I'm done with it. It's getting me all riled up, and I don't think it's even in an entertaining way. Like, I don't know, if you were watching this, I don't know how you'd be able to make it this far. Chris, how many people we got watching? I guess you can't hear me. Okay, so the next thing, the Grinch trailer. More about Illumination Entertainment. So Illumination Entertainment is going to be releasing an adaptation of The Grinch, starring Benedict Cumbersnatch as the Grinch. Watching this trailer made me die inside a little. I've been a fan of The Grinch since the initial Chuck Jones animation, and then the Jim Carrey movie, which has a special place in my heart despite its flaws. Seeing this product that's completely devoid of any imagination or any form of effort or production design. They use the song Happy in the trailer by Pharrell Williams, which you may remember is their single from their film Despicable Me 2, okay? And they're reusing it years later in a trailer for their new Dr. Seuss movie. If that doesn't make you sick, like in the pit of your stomach, I don't know what the fuck will. But anyway, the movie looks awful. It looks like it misses the point, and I will not be seeing it, and you shouldn't either. Don't support Illumination Entertainment. Hashtag boycott Illumination Entertainment. Let's get that trending, huh? Plenty of reasons. Anywho, Mary Poppins Returns. Fuck Mary Poppins Returns. I'm not even going to touch on that. Anyway, okay. So, I completely skipped the part where we recommend stuff, so now I'm going to get to my recommendations. Okay, so past 3 days, I've been cooped up in my grandma's house living like a hermit because I've been house sitting for her, and it's given me a lot of time to watch movies. So I got 3 that I watched. I watched American Werewolf in London, The Thin Red Line, and wow, I just killed them energy. Anyway, okay, and the third film I watched was Parker, a Jason Statham action film. And let me say this, fuck the other movies I was talking about. I'm going to talk about Parker. So, like, my name is Parker, right? And I've never really liked my name because there are, like, there are other ER names that are, like, cool, you know? There's, like, Hunter and Gunner, and it's like, you know, those are cool. They're doing something. But Parker... like, who parks? Maybe a valet sometimes might park, but that's like it's basically a nonsense word, is what I'm saying. So when I saw that there's a Jason Statham movie named Parker, I'm like, that's a fucking stupid name for a movie. But who would name a movie Parker? and I turn it on, and the movie's named after the main guy, played by Jason Statham, and he's like this hyper super soldier Jason Bourne type guy who's just taking out drug cartels, and he's fucking Jennifer Lopez, and he's like, say my name, and she goes, Parker. And then like the bad guys are like, he's coming to kill us. And then they're like, who's coming to kill us? And he says, Parker. And it's like, I had no idea that this name was so cool, apparently, that it can carry a whole action movie. And like Jason Statham can be like the coolest guy ever and have that name. I guess I always didn't like the name, but I suppose it's cool to somebody. I mean, more power to you. Didn't quite click with me on a movie level. You know, I thought the movie was average, but I appreciated the outlook on the name. That's really it. I couldn't tell you shit about the movie. I wasn't really paying attention. I was just thinking about like what I was going to say about it the whole time. Anyway, so yeah, my recommendation is not Parker. Don't watch that. It's kind of a waste of time. The Thin Red Line, however, if you liked Dunkirk, you will love this movie. If you didn't like Dunkirk, this will be your favorite movie of all fucking time. Because in my opinion, I think it's Dunkirk done right. Because it's a similar type of movie where it's a war epic, and there are tons of characters. But the thing is, you get to know each and every one of them. They all have little narrations, their stories intertwine, and it takes its time with the quiet moments to really build the sense of humanity between these people, as opposed to in Dunkirk when just humanity is the thing you got to get behind to vibe with these people, because they don't have names or semblances of personality or anything like that. If you ask me, Thin Red Line is Dunkirk done right. And not only that, it has Hans Zimmer music from years and years and years ago, and he uses that ticking clock in the score for Thin Red Line. So he'd already used that device, better in that movie. Why is it a big deal if he uses it in Dunkirk too and just adds some bass drops? So that's what I'm saying. The reason I get a lot of flack for this, the reason I don't like Dunkirk is because there are so many movies that have done it so much better. And it just didn't grab me. Like Dunkirk is like a Gravity, or the closest comparison that I can think of for Dunkirk is Rogue One, because Rogue One has like a structure, it has a solid story and a solid action and everything, but the characters are completely not there, and it's missing. It ends up like as movie scaffolding rather than an actual full movie, and that's how I feel about Dunkirk. So, yeah. Don't watch Dunkirk, watch Thin Red Line by Terrence Malick. That's my final recommendation. Now let's see what else I got on this little scrap of paper. I tried to find a clipboard to make this look like, more professional, because this is already pretty pathetic as it is. But now I'm just holding a piece of paper. All right, what have I got? Okay, so we got to have a word, ladies and germs. Listen up. Because last week, you may remember that we went over the box office results, and Annihilation came in 4th place with only $10 million. Now, I have not seen the movie yet because I want to pay for it, and I haven't been able to get to the theater. It's probably out of the theaters at this point, to be honest. But I researched this movie. I had been avoiding it earlier, so I didn't know anything about it. This movie is basically an all-female cast. Not only that, but an extremely diverse female cast. There's a Hispanic woman, there's an Asian woman, there's a lesbian, and they're all, from what I understand, well-rounded, well-written characters. Like, nobody had any complaints in those departments. And so, why the fuck wasn't it on anybody's radar? What's going on here? Are we that infatuated with Black Panther that we can't look at the very next movie and see the benefits that it has? That it might even be more progressive than the aforementioned movie? Like, Jesus Christ, what's it gonna take, man? What's it gonna take? So that movie did everything right. It was a science fiction adaptation of a beloved novel with an extremely diverse cast and an interesting new young director who's had success in the past. But because it didn't become a meme for its diversity, it tanks? Are you kidding me? Why are you letting Twitter choose the movies you watch? Why don't you watch what you want to fucking watch? Stop letting Twitter tell you! I'm so sorry, Annihilation. You didn't deserve that. You really tried your best. I'll give you that. It's just not fair. I want to be a filmmaker and everything. What if I do everything right, but because it's not a meme, because people can't take it and share it and like, you know, find something to cling on to, it just tanks and nobody notices it. I don't know, man. I'm having a bit of an existential crisis right now because Annihilation failed. There's no reason it should have. Come on, people. Stop running your mouths and give credit where credit is due. This movie is progressive, incredibly so, and it deserves to be seen. So quit running your mouth and go see it. If you really care about this shit, god damn it. Good Lord. All right, so let's tone down the conversation a little bit, okay? 3 billboards. Now, last week we were talking about this on the Oscar show, and I don't think I had enough room to speak because everybody on the panel unanimously agreed that 3 Billboards was one of their favorite movies of the year. I was in dissent. I thought the movie was average, if not below average, and it's one of the most overrated movies of recent memory. And I'm here to provide a review, you know, a pretty well-calculated, you know, unbiased review of the movie as a movie so that I can explain to people why I think the movie doesn't work. Okay, so the first thing I'd say is the structure. Because if you ever seen the movie, right, the first hour of it is several different storylines that do not connect yet. So there's no through line. It's just a bunch of characters and scenes happening that you get to know them. So you're kind of floating around in the first act. And then the second act begins, spoiler alert by the way, this is going to be heavy spoilers. The second act roughly begins when Chief Willoughby kills himself, and then that's when shit starts to go down. The third act I can't really identify, actually. I think it might have been when she burned down the police station, but then right after that, like, she has dinner with Peter Dinklage, right? And things kind of slow down. This is the problem, okay? This is the problem with the movie, if you ask me. It's not the dialogue. It's not the characters, necessarily. It's not the themes that the movie tackles. I thought the movie tackled its racial themes very, very well and maturely, however pedestrian. It's, what's the movie about? Like, can you tell me in one sentence or less what the movie 3 Billboards is about? Because it's not about the main character. She doesn't really have a complete arc that we see go down. She's relatively the same throughout the whole thing. Chief Willoughby doesn't have an arc. He just kind of kills himself. It's not a movie about Sam Rockwell. He's just a side character. He ends up with Frances McDormand at the end, but really he doesn't have any form of redemption. All he has is a mission to do what he'd been doing earlier, which is cause violence. He just redirected it. Yeah, so I'm having trouble figuring out what the movie is about. I don't think it has a core that I can latch onto. Because another problem is that disconnected me from the movie and made me... The dialogue I did have an issue with. Dialogue I thought was a little pretentious in a lot of places. And I think the main problem with that is the way the movie's shot. So the movie's shot incredibly colorful. That like the saturation's turned way up on everything, and it looks kind of like a Hallmark original movie. So when I hear these characters talking and everything, and there's lens flares and light glistening off of Woody Harrelson's colorful scalp, it just seems so soap opera-y and sanitized to me, which is, I'm going to compare this to some other similar type of movies, right? Like a Coen Brothers movie of the same type of ilk, or maybe even a Quentin Tarantino movie. The way they're shot, because the characters, the way they talk, they're like real people, and it's very dialogue heavy, and the themes they're dealing with are gritty. The way that it's shot is very gritty also. Like, it's very down to earth, and the colors aren't oversaturated. So, like, when you add that gloss over it, it seems so fake, and it just seems a little preachy. Like, for example, there's, of course, the deer scene. I'm not going to talk about the fucking deer scene, though. Everybody, even the people who like the movie hate the deer scene. But there were several scenes, like when Frances McDormand's ranting at the priest that just came out of nowhere, and it seemed like an Oscar bait moment. When Lucas Hedges was crying about his sister, I didn't believe a word of it. Just lots of moments where the acting and the dialogue do not mesh up and they create a really unintentionally corny moment. As a whole, though, there are some good scenes in Three Billboards, and I think that it is good food for thought in terms of the stuff it's talking about. It just feels like the middle act of a much larger movie. So don't expect a complete experience if you're going into Three Billboards. And my final ranking on it would be a 6 out of 10. So not bad, but it's not the fucking movie of the year, Ethan. I don't know how you can, you know, I won't be so hostile towards Ethan. The man has his opinion. Anyway, I think Chris said I should wrap up. So this has been the Sneak Peek podcast, I guess. Hope you enjoyed my rambling, and see you next week, hopefully with more people. Are we off? Hello? Are we off? Are we off?